Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Meanwhile's Daredevil Born Again After Show. This is episode 3, and I don't know about you guys, but that episode blew our mind. We are floored. Hector Ayala's big win in court ends bittersweet with a skull-branded bullet. Was that the Punisher, Frank Castle, or was it just another dirty cop? We're going to break it down, and Rich has a spicy take on Matt's courtroom performance. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Meanwhile back on the podcast. We are here to talk about Daredevil Born Again, episode 3. And Bradley is not with us tonight. He is doing a work thing. But Rich is with us. What's up, Rich? How are you?
What up? Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Are you wearing another Deadpool shirt? How many Deadpool shirts do you have, bro?
I have 2. Actually, I haven't worn my other one. I have this one, and then I have a shirt that says Deadpoo on it, and it's Winnie the Pooh dressed as Deadpool.
Okay.
So, I do have one more Deadpool shirt with a little insignia on the pocket area.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
If you wear the Winnie Pooh one, I'm definitely going to make fun of you. That's happening.
Dude, it's my favorite shirt, and everybody, when I walk around in it, people love it. They're like, I love your shirt. It's a great play on a name. It's Deadpoo looking just totally awesome. It's the best Pooh's ever looked. No pants, too. It's just the shirt, no pants.
See, I don't like those Disney crossover things or the mashups, the cartoon mashups. Like, I like okay, so let me give you an example. The Funko Pops, I like the toys. Like, they look cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're unique. Like, I have a couple of them myself, but I would never wear a Funko Pops design t-shirt. It just doesn't look hard enough for me. Like, it has
hard.
Yeah. Like, if I'm gonna, like, I have X-Men shirts, I have Star Wars shirts, and it has to be like a really dope graphic. And I don't like anything that has like the logo incorporated into it. I know I'm wearing a fucking Marvel hat right now. I get that. I get the irony of that. But if this had if this had a picture of a character and it said Marvel, I wouldn't wear it. I just have this weird thing with aesthetics. Like it has to be a clean design. But anyways, we are totally digressing. Let's start talking about
next week. The Deadpool shirt's coming out. I haven't worn it in a while because it's starting to fade. So I got it stored away, like all protected and stuff. So I'll pull it out next week, and I dare you to make fun of it. It will put a smile on your face. It will make your day. I promise you.
If I'm smiling, it's because I'm laughing. But that's about it. But anyways,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, man. Daredevil Born Again, episode 3. So
yeah.
They didn't kill Karen, so I'm happy. And if you tuned in for episode 2, you saw me go down a very dark tunnel. I was not happy about episode 1 and 2 at all. But I gotta say, this was like from the other free throw line, not their free throw line, the other free throw line. Like, this was just an amazing episode. I loved it. I loved everything about this episode. It was fantastic.
Yep.
I honestly feel, and I hope I'm not being hyperbolic here. You guys in the comments can let me know if I'm being hyperbolic. That's fine. But I think that this is the best episode of Marvel television we have ever had. Possibly the best episode. The other one I would probably compare it to is season 2, where Frank ties Punisher up and they have that. Frank ties Daredevil up and they have that conversation on the rooftop as he's chained to the chimney. Like, that's just amazing dialogue, and it's so good. But this episode was awesome. Like, it was just firing on all cylinders. The performances were incredible. I loved all the misdirection. Like, this episode should have been called Misdirection. Misdirection on steroids, because everything was a misdirection. There wasn't any linear, really, anything happening in this episode. But yeah, the performances were fantastic. I loved the courtroom drama. I loved all the twists and turns. I really loved that they set up that the writing team had the foresight to do that setup in the previous episode for the whole, Hector Ayala is White Tiger, and whether that would be used in the courtroom or not. Right. And why it would be used and whatever, but they nailed it. Like, the way that they went about using that was just awesome. I love that. I love that part. What were some of your first impressions?
Yeah, I thought it was a standout episode. You could tell they reshot the pilot, and I think episode 3 is where they really wanted to take this new Daredevil in this direction.
Mhm.
This was like Law and Order Special Vigilante Unit. I thought it was fantastic, and it was really good. I mean, Hector Ayala, Camar de
Ayala,
los
yeah.
Reyes, yeah,
Yeah.
Camar de los Reyes, awesome performance by him. And it was
Yep.
even more pointed. Spoiler alert. Do we play spoiler alerts on this podcast? So
No.
spoiler alert. The
If you're watching the after show, I'm not apologizing to you for spoiling shit. That's not happening, bro.
but the this episode was even more poignant because the actor that played White Tiger, passed away from cancer in
Passed away.
2023, and
Rest
then
in
he
peace,
dies.
brother.
Yeah, and then he dies at the end of this episode, in a real shocking way. And
Yep.
I honestly did not see it coming. I'm like, oh, cool, we're going to see him suit up. We're going to see him, because the only fighting we've seen of White Tiger was a grainy cell phone video of him kicking butt in a bodega.
Yeah.
Nothing like in full regalia. So I was like, oh, we're going to see him like, and right after he gets out of court and Matt telling him, look, you can't do this anymore. If you're found innocent, you got to stop doing this. He's like, I can't. It's like breathing.
It's me, bro.
And yeah, this is who I am. And he suits up, and then he gets domed by not Frank Castle,
Not Frank Castle. No.
people.
No.
But
Dirty
this
cop.
is Dirty Cop for sure. I mean, they made it a point to show a lot of their tattoos, so we know,
Yeah.
leading up to this, it was a corrupt cop, and this is a perfect setup and plot point pivot to bring back the Punisher and be like, because I predict the next episode's going to be Matt finds out about this. He goes and finds Frank, and he's going to say, Frank, there's people doing this in your name. We can't allow this to happen, and we're going to go.
I don't think it's gonna be that clean. I think Matt's gonna go to Frank thinking it was him.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
And because they want, like, the way that I see the creative direction of this show going is that they really like the misdirection. They want to make sure that that whatever they're setting up is not necessarily the direction that they want to go. They want to take the audience in a different direction. So I definitely see Matt confronting Frank and saying, hey man, like, this guy was on camera wearing a Punisher vest. We saw him. Like, was it you? And then it's going to be this whole thing. Like, I think that's where it's kind of going.
It's going to be that trope of two friends fight before they fight together. They fight each other before they fight together, right? So
it could be. I don't know. I hope that it's not it, though. I don't want to see Frank and Matt fight. It doesn't make sense right now.
In Matt's gravelly voice, tell me this wasn't you. Tell me this wasn't you.
Yeah.
But I thought this whole episode was really great. Wilson Fisk and Vanessa in the marriage counseling again. I got to thinking about the Netflix series and how much Fisk loved Vanessa, put her on a pedestal, would do anything for her, would do literally anything for her, but he's not willing to do this for her. And she's really like upset about this. Even at the dinner or at the breakfast where they're spread so far apart, which is unlike their love story in the first, 3 seasons of the Netflix series.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, there's this painting that came up. I could easily wash $2 million through that. And he's like, no, can't be doing that. And so I'm really interested to see where this marriage counseling kind of B plot is going to take. Is this going to be like where Fisk breaks bad to win Vanessa? Like what's worth more to him, the mayorship or Vanessa? And it's going to have this tipping point in where that's going to happen. We only got 6 more episodes, but they already greenlit season 2. And I don't know if it's already in production. I don't know. But I mean, there's not enough episodes to tie up the storylines for this one. So I absolutely think it's going to end in a cliffhanger after 9 episodes. Right. And it's just season 2. It's almost like there were supposed to be 18 episodes in the first season. I think they decided to split it up into 2 seasons. So that's probably the direction we're going to take with this one. But I thought that scene was really great. The way they're showing the progression or the descent of their marriage from such lofty romantic highs to where they're at now. So.
Well, I've got a thread I want to tug on there a little bit with Vanessa and Fisk. Um, I get the feeling that Wilson doesn't quite know who he is anymore.
Mm.
And I feel like Vanessa has got that sense too. And she almost senses weakness in him, um, because he doesn't have that behind him anymore. He can't call on that part of his personality anymore, or he doesn't want to, or he's resisting, you know, the urge to want to call on that part of his personality. And I think that's having a detrimental effect on their relationship.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think in a way it reflects this sort of modern conversation that's happening right now between, in the dating world about men and women, and like, can men show their vulnerable side? Can they, can they let go of their dominance and their strength every once in a while and still sit atop the relationship? Can they still be seen with the same respect and love and admiration from their partner as they were before, when they were a more domineering, more physical, more, type of person? And with Fisk shifting, I see these nuances um between between D'Onofrio and what's her name again?
Uh,
Isaiah?
yeah, I think so. I can't remember. I have to Google it.
It's all right. I got IMDb open right now. Just give me 2 seconds here, because she's amazing. She's a great actress.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I think it's Isaiah or Zaire.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't pronounce that. Ayala Zur, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so there's all these little nuances in their performance that is painting this picture of their relationship basically hanging by a thread because he's not the man he used to be.
Hmm.
And that was the man that she was initially attracted to,
Right.
right? So he's trying to find this happy balance of what he thinks is best for him, but also what's going to continue to stoke the flames of that relationship, to keep the passion and to keep the interest, but also, trying to balance the wanting to be the mayor, his political aspirations as well.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's what I think this is going to be one of the more interesting things to keep an eye on as the season progresses, is what happens between Fisk and his wife. Um, I wouldn't be shocked if there's some kind of some kind of plot from her, as far as like taking him out, or some sort of gesture of violence that brings him back um to old Fisk. Like, I
Hmm.
kind of see that coming. I don't see it being telegraphed necessarily, but I'm picking up on a lot of subtext that the relationship has changed dramatically because of the shift in dynamic, and
Yeah. Yep.
and
Yep.
I would put money on it that they're probably not even sleeping together right now,
Yeah.
and it's probably a very fractured relationship, and they don't feel like it's just not there anymore, like right now.
Yeah, that separation at the breakfast table spoke volumes, how
Yeah.
far apart they were. And I am waiting for the inciting incident that's going to force Fisk to choose to go back to the way he was, or to keep trying to, um, play it straight. And Vanessa's going to do something that's going to force his hand. So I'm definitely predicting that. Another thing that I liked about this episode is there wasn't, other than Matt sitting in the courtroom playing with the broken Daredevil horn, there was nary a Daredevil scene in this episode at all. It was all Matt,
Yep.
and the courtroom drama. And I love that scene where he was sitting in there because it looked like a church, and him being Catholic has that imagery there. He's walking in the empty courtroom, he's sitting and thinking about things, and it was just a really great scene. What did you think of the actual courtroom legalities of it all?
It was great. It was great. I was kind of shocked that, so they were playing up, like they were definitely leaning into all the cops that were in the gallery were there to intimidate this potential witness, Torres or whatever his face is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like the fact that they weren't like all white guys,
Oh
because
yeah,
that,
yeah.
because
That'd have been a
that's
little too on the nose.
that's a little too on the nose, right? So it was like literally like, it looked like a freshman class of a college. There was Asian guys, there was white guys, there was black guys, there was white women, there was black women, there was Hispanic women. There's just like it's just like all these cops are just they're filthy. Like they're all dirty. Like one of the guys that had a Punisher tattoo was an Asian dude.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was like, okay, so they're just saying now that it's not just white cops that are bad, all cops are bad.
yeah,
So ACAB, right? Now, I'm not somebody that subscribes to that idea because I don't think that you can have I don't think that you can have an organization like the police and have everybody just be complete and utter poison.
right.
I think that there's got to be somebody. There's a Serpico. There's always going to be a Serpico, right? And yeah, that's a 1970s film reference. And if you guys don't get it, you can Google it. But was it De Niro or Pacino?
Pacino, I
It was
think.
Pacino, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Good movie. It's a good movie. But my point is this: there's got to be a Serpico, and there's got to be a Serpico in this story, or it just gets heavy-handed and political instantaneously. There's got to be a balance. There's got to be a cop that plays into this story with Frank and with Matt and with everybody else. Like there's got to be a good cop in this story at some point.
yeah,
Otherwise, it just gets overly political because we're already leaning very heavily into the political in this series. With Fisk sort of being this Trump analog
mm-hmm.
in the second Marvel project in a row. Like we get it, Disney. You don't like Trump. We get it. It's very clear to us right now. But let's not, let's not browbeat the fans. Like we get it. It's a very politically charged time right now. But like let's use some subtlety and some subtext and let's show all sides of the coin, right? So if they're going to continue with the storyline, I got to see a good cop. I got to see a couple of good cops because I believe in good cops.
Yeah,
I don't believe all cops are bad. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that they do sort of try and balance that out.
yeah, yeah. I think there's going to be that good cop in there, and I think the cops that are playing this basically a gang of cops inside the organization. These are the ones that like peaked in high school and want to be in charge, and being a cop is the easiest way to get that kind of authority. So
Yep.
I exactly think the same way you are. I think we are going to see some good cops because not all of them are going to be like that. One thing that I liked in the pre courtroom scene was where Matt was talking to Hector in the jail cell, and he told that really great story
I love that.
of the
Yeah.
frogs,
Yeah.
the coqui tree frogs, and he whistled
The
it, and then
Coquis.
they played it over the end credits. I'm like, am I tearing up at the end credits? Oh my gosh, just the
Yeah.
way they bookended that was
Yeah.
so nice and
Yeah.
so just heartfelt, and really a tribute to the actor that played him. And I hate that we're not going to
Absolutely.
see him anymore because I
Yeah.
thought he did a lot with a little. There was not very much of White Tiger to be seen in these first 3 episodes,
Yeah.
but this episode was centered around him, and rightfully so. Um, Such a great performance. I will say, in the courtroom scene, though, Matt in this particular instance is kind of a horrible lawyer because he did 3 things that would have got him in front of the bar for an ethics hearing, or 2, got him straight up disbarred. I mean, the first one, he went against his client's wishes. He went
Yeah.
against Hector's wishes to not be revealed as the White Tiger. He
Yeah.
introduced evidence improperly in court, and then he straight up lied to the judge, and they pulled him into chambers. Like, you told me you not to do it. Then you lied to me. I will not be made fun. This courtroom will not be made a mockery of. Had Hector been found guilty, he would have had a pretty good grounds for ineffective counsel on appeal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if I want this version of Matt as my lawyer if I'm ever called to the stand for being a vigilante, because I don't need a lawyer that's going to go rogue on me in the courtroom and do stuff like that. But real suspension of disbelief. You gotta do that a little bit for dramatic effect. But I mean, I thought it was effective from a dramatic standpoint, but definitely would have been disbarred. I mean, so if you're watching this thinking, I want to be a lawyer because I want these Perry Mason moments, no, this ain't it. It's much more boring than that. But I thought it was really, really cool and really interesting. And with the whole White Tiger, this version of White Tiger storyline, do we think that the sister takes up the mantle as she does in the comics, or is this it? Are we done?
I don't know. I think we'll probably see, the female White Tiger.
Yeah.
Whether we haven't met his sister. We saw his wife and we saw his niece. And the niece is way too young, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah. That would not be. But let's come back to that because I want to talk about what you said about the Kokui a little bit.
Okay, sure.
I love those little character nuance things.
Yeah.
That just get, sewn into a character's story. Like I love that. That's why I love White Lotus. Like the White Lotus is like without a doubt one of my favorite series right now. And it's getting
great.
crazy. Yeah. Walton Goggins. Oh my God, dude. Greatest actor on the planet.
Yes.
Like we wasted him in Marvel. Like they wasted him so bad.
Oh, I know
like,
it.
So bad. They could have found something way better for him. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's fantastic. But anyways, I love when they weave those little character nuance things, those little anecdotes, those little, those little sort of analogies or I just love that shit. And
glimpses
I really
into
love
their
that
background, glimpses into their personal life, just those little windows into who they are that makes you that endears you to that character. And in such a short period of time, I loved seeing Hector on screen and talking and dialoguing with Matt Murdock and just learning more about his character. And I hate that we're not going to see that anymore.
Yeah, me too. And not only what you said, but how they value, how they value life, like how they value the little things about life. I've dated a lot of women in my life. Okay.
You don't need to brag, dude. Come on now.
And there's been a lot of nuance between all of them. And usually the ones that I fail to connect with are the ones that just can't find the narrative of the everyday life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
the joy in the present.
Yeah. Not only the joy in the present, but like I'm a type of person where my inner monologue is my conversation. Like if I have a crazy idea, I'm going to tell you my crazy idea and I want your thoughts on it. And I want to process that. And I want to, use that as feedback. And I'm that type of person where like my inner monologue is my conversation. And I get along best with those types of people where like, it's like literally your life's a podcast. You're just kind of like spitting, you know what I mean? And listening intently to what other people are telling you. And I meet so many people where the extent of their conversation goes to like small talk. Like it never goes beyond that. They have no curiosity about aliens. They have no curiosity about science. They have no curiosity about music. They have no curiosity about this. So when I get a little, my point is when I get a little snippet like that from a character, like something small like that, and cultural like that, like I really, really love that kind of stuff. And it really colors the character really well for me. And I take a lot from that. And I actually really fell in love with Hector Ayala's character a lot more than where I was at before.
Yeah. And it was in that moment when that happened too.
Yeah. And he was clearly on camera while he was sick because, his physique is definitely diminished from some of the photos that you've seen of him in the past. Right. But again, rest in peace, brother. And amazing performance. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
But going to what you're saying about Matt in the courtroom. Yeah. If we brought a legal professional in to sit in the third chair and talk about this episode, I'm sure they would tear him a new one.
I love that stuff, man.
But there's this law in TV and film called because the script demands it. And once the script demands it, the script is like, the script and the writer is ex machina. It's Deus ex machina, right? Which we saw live live and in charge on She-Hulk, which was like literally we're going to write what's going to happen, and what we write is going to happen no matter whether it makes sense or not. But anyways, it's because the script demands it, and I get it. But I think they did a good job of, like, it wasn't too much to ask as far as how much we had to suspend our disbelief to get through that scene.
Sure.
Like they had the district attorney come back at him. They had the judge come back at him a little bit. He probably could have been disbarred. Yeah. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like he definitely probably could have been disbarred. And you can't just pull a mask out of a bag in a courtroom and expect that to be entered as evidence.
Yeah.
Like they would have shut, like it would have been mistrial right from there.
Absolutely.
Like they wouldn't even gone into the chambers. The judge would have just called a mistrial.
Yep.
Like right then and there. Right. But it's because the script demands it. So
yeah, and when the CI was on the stand and he completely like flipped, right? He saw the cops, felt the pressure, and completely changed his thing. I was like, Matt, asked to treat him as a hostile witness. This is what a lawyer would do. He's a hostile witness now. But I was kind of glad that after that, and him and his partner were discussing it, he's like, oh, we can recall him as a hostile witness. I'm like, oh, cool. So they did have some legal realism in there. Fantastic. But yeah, in another life, I feel like I could have been a lawyer, but it's way too much studying. So I love that courtroom scene, and I'm getting everything I want out of Daredevil right now. I wanted a courtroom drama, and I got it. One thing though with this show is, man, it is moving at a clip. I really, in a normal, like 20 season episode long season, right? This could have gone on for 3-4 episodes, 3-4-5 episodes, and really dragged it out and pumped up the drama. But when you only got 9 episodes, I mean, this moving at a clip. So I mean, we got Wilson Fisk becoming mayor in a half an episode. We got Foggy and Karen gone in the first 15 minutes. I mean, we are moving. So I'm really interested to see how much more they're going to cram in the next, or we're a third of the way through, how much they're going to cram in the next 6 episodes and how fast they're going to do it.
Well, see, if they treat it like a comic book, right? They treat it like a comic book, and they give you one big, solid, huge, satisfying moment at the end of the season. That'll be enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Homeland. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Homeland, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So at the end of the season of spoiler alert for anybody who's going to watch Homeland, but it's an old show, so I don't give a shit. Okay. But at the end of the season, they give you the moment, they give you somewhat close to the moment that you've been waiting for the entire season.
Yeah.
And they walk you up to it. Like, there's not really a lot of big drops, big reveals in the first season in the lead up to that, into that season finale. And Quentin Tarantino was actually talking about it. Who is he talking to? Oh, he's talking to Rogan. Yeah, he was on Rogan's show with his producing partner or his producing buddy. And they were talking about, like, how do you deliver a really satisfying ending? And he thinks the ending of Homeland is very satisfying. And I agree with him. I think the ending of Homeland is fucking fantastically satisfying. So as long as they deliver something that is like above and beyond, I'm trying to think of a Marvel moment where I just felt so satisfied. Oh, when Wanda sacrifices herself in Multiverse of Madness. Like, I was not expecting that. Yeah. And I wasn't expecting it to be like that, where, America basically punches her into her into the multiverse where her alternate is, and and the kids get to see how monstrous she's become, in the pursuit of her children. And she basically dies because she cannot stand the fact that her kids saw, or she takes her own life because she couldn't stand the way that her kids now looked at her for what she did.
Yeah.
So, and the other satisfying part of that was basically Michael Waldron telling the audience, like, nobody in this movie could beat Wanda if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So she had to beat herself.
Right.
It's like, that's an incredibly satisfying ending for me. I know a lot of people, I know it's a very controversial ending. I get that. But if you watch the end of WandaVision, it's not really that controversial at all.
Right.
But yeah, if you give us an ending like that, where, Matt has some profound, revelation or something deep or something crazy happens. But you know what? You're talking about a clip. I want to talk like, they're going at a clip. Yeah, they are. Like, we've already lost 2 people.
Yeah.
Like, there's already 2 people dead, right?
Yep.
That's kind of crazy. That's
Yeah.
kind of crazy for sure.
This show is not afraid to kill people, which I
No,
think is kind of refreshing. I think it's good that they are sticking to what is good for the storyline in this version of Daredevil, and they're not afraid to kill people off,
nope,
which is fantastic. And when I was talking about moving at a clip, I mean, we still got to get Frank Castle reintroduced into the storyline. We got to get Muse in here
oh yeah,
and lead up to him. Muse is a relatively new villain. What, 2016 introduced in the comics? 2016, 2017. Not a
hmm,
whole lot of comic history for us to kind of build upon. So we have to essentially introduce him to a whole new audience.
right.
And we only got 6 episodes to do it in. So I'm just really interested to see how they're going to build up Muse through these next 6 episodes, because we've seen him once, maybe twice, if you believe that Muse was doing the graffiti in the first episode. But we've only seen him once in full face without the costume. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
So, were there any other scenes that stood out? Like any smaller scenes that you were like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," or
Not really. Just the tree frog scene and the courtroom scene, I think, were the 2 biggest ones for me, because it's
okay,
the courtroom scene is definitely something I wanted to see. I hope. I don't think we're going to get any more, because that's a pretty big one. I think if you do another courtroom scene with something else, it just diminishes this one. So I
right,
think we're going to see Daredevil from here on out. I don't think we're going to see Matt the lawyer. We're going to see Matt the vigilante from here on out. And I got my fix of the courtroom scene. So let's go out and start breaking some bones.
nice. Well, I'm kind of shocked that you didn't bring up the cooking scene. I'm gonna be honest,
Oh, the
because you
blind
have a
cooking scene?
yeah, you have a cooking
Yeah.
podcast. So that was interesting. And the thing I found the most interesting about it was Matt was placing his hand over the pot when he opened it,
Yeah.
and and I'm wondering if that's just something that is a common thing for blind people in how they cook, or whether Matt is specially equipped to do that because of his extrasensory perception.
Right.
Like, does he have a like, does his hand basically turn into a thermometer? And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I've left it on the stove for this long at this temperature, then good chances it's done." Like,
Yeah, I did see that, and I thought it was really interesting, and I'm really glad they didn't do an exposition dump of, what's the character's name again? The therapist girlfriend going, "How
oh,
are you
Heather
cooking?"
Glenn,
Heather Glenn. How are you cooking while blind? Like, I'm glad they didn't do that. They just
right?
accepted it as, this is what he can do, this is what he does, and she
Hmm.
looks at it as normal, doesn't look at anything weird about it, and Matt's just a regular guy cooking for his girlfriend, which I thought was really cool. Because very easily somebody could have thrown a lazier writer could have thrown in an exposition dump about how he's able to cook blind. But yeah, I mean, I would be interested to hear um, from the visually impaired audience how real is that? Because I love this about TV shows. I love watching people talk about how real is something, and rating it on a scale for that.
Right.
So I would love to hear, if you're listening in the comments or something, put it in there. It's like, how is he able to cook blind and not, because I'm not blind. I cook and I burn stuff all the time. So like, I really want to hear the skill behind that. That would be kind of cool to put on my own podcast, actually, now that you're giving me an idea.
That would be neat. That would definitely be neat. But yeah, that scene definitely stood out a bit. And for me, I just really enjoyed how they were building suspense with the shell game when they were moving the witness around,
That was
Torres or
cool.
whatever his name is.
Yep.
That was cool. I really like that they were just using a lot of misdirection. Do I think that I feel like it was like they were too reliant on the misdirection a little bit? Like it just kept happening and happening and happening,
Hmm.
and it just sort of became sort of formulaic at a point. Um, I didn't see the witness not testifying. I thought that the witness was just going to testify and that would be it, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing I took away from this episode, they could have done this as the first episode.
Yeah.
they could have done episode 2 as a number 1, and they could have done this one as the second one, and then they could have killed Foggy in episode 4 or 5 or whatever, or 6, because that actually probably would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think that's where the seams are showing when they did the reshoots, when they reshot the pilot. And this part right here, I think they reshot the pilot and they reshot the final episode, but everything in between pretty much stayed intact. So you can kind of see, like what you're saying, I think you see those seams a little bit of where the reshoot happened and where the original was filmed.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I think that yeah, but I think, like, I don't know. I think it would have made total sense. Like, you start episode 2 with this, you know, Hector Ayala killing this cop in self-defense against 2 rogue cops, and the story is kind of off and running. And I think it bleeds into the main story that they're going for anyways, because a lot of people are saying that they don't even think that Muse is going to be the key villain in the series. They think it's going to be the cops. The cops are going to be the key villain in the series.
It's leading
That's
to
what everybody's saying. Now, if that is the case, then they really killed Foggy for nothing. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm going to raise a controversial issue I brought up in our WhatsApp chat, but I want to talk about it a little bit.
All right.
So back in 2023, I think it was 2023, there was a rumor or some sort of somebody's version of a conversation they had with somebody at Walt Disney, where they basically said that there was an unofficial, unpapered policy on having a 50-50 cast, 50 being white, white actors, and 50 being people of color and people from other marginalized groups. So based on that, one could argue that if they had kept Foggy and Karen in the main cast, and they had kept all of Fisk's people, because basically all of Fisk's people are white, except for that one woman, right? You could argue, like, it wouldn't be absurd to argue that potentially Foggy may have been killed off because he kind of threw off that 50-50 balance. And it could be argued that Karen has been sort of sidelined because she threw off that 50-50 balance. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't think women play into that. No, it would be white men. It would only be white men. So 50 white men and 50 other marginalized groups. Women are another marginalized group. So Karen wouldn't fall into that. But it could be argued that, like we talked about in the last episode we did, Rich, you were saying that this is Daredevil born again. He's moving on. These are his new friends. This is his new circle. I get that. Okay. But nobody wanted that. Like, if you put up a poll now today and it was like, who do you want to come back as a supporting cast for Matt Murdock? Foggy and Karen are going to be at the top of that list.
Yeah.
Right. So I just look at that particular rumor and I say to myself, and I also look at the other practices throughout Hollywood that I've seen that have been happening pretty consistently. The Oscars saying, like, hey, you have to have this percentage of this people in your cast, and this percentage of this people in your crew, and this percentage of people working in your creative team to be able to win an Oscar. Like, these sort of mandated representation sort of bylaws, like these things that are being put in place. And I can't make any sense of Foggy being killed outside of that. Like, it just doesn't, like I said, it just doesn't track for me. Now, there's another thing that's going, yeah, actually, you know what? I'll get your feedback on that first, and then I'll go into something else. But what do you think?
I mean, I think that's kind of a cynical way to look at it a little bit. I mean, I don't know if this is a factual thing or not. I mean, it could have been maybe unwritten, like, I don't think anybody's going to put that on paper. I think it was just this unspoken. Yeah, this unspoken.
That's
rule.
what I said. It's unpapered, right?
Yeah. So, sorry, I thought you said it was on paper, not unpapered.
Unpapered.
Yeah. So, because Survivor is doing this, the reality show Survivor, this new era Survivor, they made it a point to say 50% of the cast is going to be white, 50% of the cast is going to be marginalized people of color, and they've been following that. So I can see that playing into Disney, because if one does it, probably a lot of others are doing it unconsciously or consciously. But we kind of go back to the killing of Foggy and the shipping off of Karen to San Francisco to meet Ant-Man, as part of this 50-50 thing. Maybe, but I still feel like it played well into the story, into launching this new era of Daredevil. So, like I said before, had it been lazier in terms of how they got rid of Foggy, and if it would have been like somehow Foggy and Karen are gone, then I would be more apt to believe that. But they really made it a way to integrate it into the story. For me, that made sense to drive Matt Murdock's character forward.
Okay, no, that's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point. What do you think about the rumor that Foggy is not dead?
I mean, I was reading some blogs and some YouTube videos about some joking things like the Hand is going to resurrect Foggy or something. I don't know. I think he's dead. Matt heard his heartbeat down to flatline.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of devices and shit that they've brought into comic books and movies where it can slow your heartbeat down to basically nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's that all exists, especially in the world of the Hand. Like that's definitely a thing. Like I'm pretty sure I remember that. But I'm not talking about the Hand resurrecting him. I'm talking about the idea that he may be in witness protection.
I've heard that rumor. That could be, but I'd have to. But what would have precipitated that? He wasn't. I mean, other than maybe some of the clients that they've worked with in the past, but there was nothing in the show, and even in I don't even think in the last Netflix season that would have explained Foggy going into witness protection. I'm trying to think, because I don't remember right offhand of him being in a case that would involve him going into witness protection.
Yeah, see, I agree with that. There is no pretext, there is no setup for that. I get that part. But there's also commitments for him to come back in season 2.
Right. I mean, we could have like a Nick Fury thing where Nick Fury was supposedly dead, but he wasn't. Or it could be like they shipped him off to Tahiti, like where they did Coulson. They shipped him off to Tahiti, where what was the tagline? It's a beautiful place or something like that. And Nick Fury has some special things set up for Foggy in S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know. But I mean, maybe if he's in season 2, it's either flashbacks or he's not dead. So it's got to be one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. I
mean, that was a lot of blood on the concrete.
There was a lot of blood on the concrete, but we didn't get we didn't get to see a funeral.
Well, you saw evidence of a funeral. You saw that Matt had the program for the funeral in Braille in the second episode. Yeah. So there was a funeral. We didn't see it, but there was one. Yeah. Whether it was open casket or closed casket, we don't know.
Yeah, I saw that, dude. Like that's definitely something to consider. But the other part that I think is weird too is as Foggy's dying, Matt is continuing his fight with Bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't he try to do something to save him?
Save Foggy? I mean, he's dodging pool cues and knives, and he was kind of busy at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I guess I see that. Yeah, I guess I can agree with that, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I think
they were going up the stairs. Meanwhile, Foggy was down on the bottom floor. So
right.
Yeah. So I don't think there was a moment in that fight where he could have done anything. And then he was keeping tabs on Foggy though, with his heart, listening to his heartbeat. And I think as long as he heard a heartbeat, there was hope until he didn't. And then Matt cracked and threw Bullseye off the roof.
Okay. So I've asked, so if this was Las Vegas, would you put any money on Foggy still being alive and being a part of this story?
No, I'm going to say it's going to be flashbacks in season 2.
Okay. So you wouldn't put any money on it?
No.
Okay.
No, because it would, I mean, okay, we've seen a lot of resurrections that makes the death like not matter anymore. And I don't feel like that this is it. I feel like the death mattered. And if we see him come back to life in season 2, then the whole point of that first episode, second episode of season 1 just means nothing. And I don't want that. I want his death to mean something. So I'm the way that I feel like the showrunners are taking the show, I think they're not afraid to kill people, and I don't think they're afraid to keep them dead. So I'm going with flashbacks in season 2.
Yeah, I don't think they're afraid to keep people dead either. I definitely don't think that that's the case. But, I gotta, yeah, man, like, I don't know. Just with that like 50-50 thing, it creeps me out. And, I think that that played some role in why they chose to do it this way. And also this new born again version of Matt Murdock and this new born again version of Daredevil, what you were saying in the last episode about him having to have this new cast of supporting characters. But if we go through the supporting characters around Matt, they all are basically people of color, the entire group of supporting characters, right?
Mhm.
And the ones that have left are basically been white, which is kind of weird. Like that should be signaling to people that there may be some merit to this 50-50 thing, right? Like it was said, yes, it's unofficial. Yes, it's not on paper because legally they couldn't put it on paper, but there are all kinds of different organizations within Hollywood that are enforcing this 50-50 thing, these bylaws or these mandates where they have these representation style quotas. And I think that that might be something that played a role into this decision to get rid of Foggy, because the entire other cast of characters that came in to be Matt's supporting cast are all people of color. And Kristen McDuffie in the comics, she's a white woman. So they race swapped a character within this new circle. So I don't know. I just think that merits some thought. It just merits some exploration. Plus, we're dealing with fucking Disney. So you can't really put anything past them.
Yeah.
You can't really put anything past them. And it's happening in Hollywood. Like, let's just be honest with each other. There's a lot of people that have lost jobs just because they're white. There's a lot of people that have been passed up for roles just because they're white. A lot of male white guys in the industry have been passed up for roles just because they're male and white. So I don't know, man. I just think it merits conversation. But anyways, so yeah, so let's it's pretty much a wrap on this episode, I think. What about predictions? Let's talk about what we think for next episode. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting Punisher next episode for sure.
Okay.
And I don't want to predict that we're going to get a new White Tiger, but I feel like it could. I mean, we might see a new White Tiger by season's end. You may not see it right away, but I'm going to picture a hand reaching into that bin with under the bed and grabbing that amulet, and it's going to be it's got to be a family member, so it's either going to be it's got to be a sister coming into town, or I don't think it's going to be the wife, don't think it's going to be the niece, but I think we're going to see a new White Tiger by season's end. Punisher for sure. I think we'll see Muse episode, I'm going to guess episode 5.
Okay.
I think we got a lot of Punisher things we got to start ramping up into. We got the corrupt cops, we got the Punisher logo being co-opted by these corrupt cops, and we got to set that straight with Frank. So that's going to be set up in episode, or at this pace could be resolved by the end of episode 4, and then we might see Muse in episode 5.
Okay, let's talk about that too. So you mentioned the costume, the White Tiger costume.
Yeah.
Again, another instance of because the script demanded it, because it had to be found for this story.
Sure.
This story beat to happen.
And even Sherry comes out and says, "Look what I found," or something to that extent,
Yeah. And the guy's staying with his sister and he just hides it under his bed. That doesn't track for me.
Yeah.
That's really ham-fisted if I think about it. That's really bad.
I mean, you
Like,
put it under some false, floorboards or something.
yeah,
I get it. It's New York. You're going to lose your deposit on your apartment, but you're going to hide it a little bit better than under the bed.
yeah. Yeah, like you need to get a little bit more crafty about where you're going to hide your fucking vigilante outfit when you're staying with your sister. Like, wait till she goes out to yoga, pull up a floorboard, hide it, fucking hollow out something. I don't know. Like, get like I don't know, get something. Get something like, dude, get a fucking pelican case with a lock on it. Like, shit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's
right.
really all you need, right? Is like a pelican case with a lock on it.
Yeah,
So yeah, so because the script demanded it, that costume had to be found and it had to be in the stupidest place of all time.
yeah.
Like if there was an award for the stupidest place to hide your fucking vigilante outfit, White Tiger definitely wins. Under a bed in your sister's house where you don't even live.
And how he
Perfect.
wasn't found out to be White Tiger before then is a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely a fucking miracle. Absolutely. But yeah, so you were saying about Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think he's coming back?
Oh, I
But you
mean,
were
for
talking
sure.
about but you think in this next episode he's coming back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and how do you think he's going to fit in? It's just Matt's going to obviously go to him after this
Sure.
guy in a yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, because they showed it in the previews where I don't know. It looks like they're in some sort of locker room or something, and
yeah,
Frank basically throws a knife or a hatchet at him. So it's either the beginnings of a fight or the end of a fight. I don't know. But Matt's gonna demand that Castle do something because these corrupt cops are co-opting his image.
yeah,
And Frank can't sit on the sidelines and let that happen. Frank is kind of indifferent to cops. I think historically in the comics, he hates corrupt cops for sure. I think that the group he reveres for sure is those that have served in the military. That's why Captain America is his hero.
right.
But he definitely hates corrupt cops. So I don't think Frank's going to sit on the sidelines and let this happen in his name, essentially.
No, I don't think he's going to let that happen either. I think he's going to take a pretty freaking active role.
Yeah, and it's got to be
It
pretty
goes against
quick.
his code. Like it goes against his code, and it goes against who he is. Like that's not the way he would do things, right? Like
Yep.
he wants to punish criminals,
Right.
and he probably sees corrupt cops as criminals, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably the only way that he sees them. So yeah, I definitely think that's going to happen for sure.
And it's got to be
Now,
pretty quick after that ending of this episode. So it's got to be the next episode. It's got to be episode
yeah,
4.
yeah, I would say that too. Now, is Matt going to get back in the costume, or are we just going to see him with that red balaclava on his head trying to fight people
No, we're going to see him back in costume. It's going to happen pretty soon.
for this episode? For this next one?
Oh man, I don't know about 4. But by the time Muse comes out, he's gonna put the cowl back on. So it's gonna happen. I don't know about
Yeah,
next
I think.
episode.
Yeah, I think once Muse comes back, yeah, I think once Muse is in the mix, it's gonna get pretty amped. But I think also Matt is going to reply to this killing of Hector in a very visceral way,
Yeah,
because I think while he was defending Hector, I think he saw a lot of himself and a lot of his own experience in Hector, like that conversation that him and Hector had as he was talking about, like, you don't need to do it in a mask. You don't, like, they were talking about their different versions of how they help the world, right?
hmm
Matt's conflicted because he used to do that and he felt good about doing it. And now he's this new version of himself where he's trying to talk to somebody who's still currently doing it. So there's a lot of inner turmoil for Matt, I think, as he's having these conversations with Hector about how he does it and what he wants to do.
yeah. Because he was
Um,
talking to Hector, it's like he can do it without the mask because that's what Matt's trying to do so hard. He's
yeah,
trying to not be Daredevil and affect change in the right way.
yeah,
Whereas on the other side of that coin, White Tiger's like, this is who I am. You might as well ask me not to breathe. And at one point, that's what Matt Murdock was. He was Daredevil. He could not be Daredevil. But with the death of Foggy, he's trying to do something different. And he's basically telling Hector, follow my example. You don't have to be White Tiger to make change. But then we're going to see that no, you got to put the mask on. You got to go out and do what's right. Essentially, is what White Tiger says. What Hector says. It's just I have to do what's right outside of the limitations of the law.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I had an epiphany. Matt's reveal with the mask in the courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
he must have been planning it because he had witnesses that were saved by White Tiger.
Yeah.
So he must have been planning it. He must have been planning it the entire time.
Right.
Meaning that, like, even if, like, but like, did he have them in his back pocket in case that, in case Torres didn't cop to the whole thing? Or was his plan the entire time to reveal that Hector is White Tiger? And like, what do you think? Like, what do you think the scenario was?
I got to think he was thinking both sides, because Torres was going to be notoriously unreliable. Like, he almost, couldn't make it to court, and they had to give him a little piece of some cocaine there just to keep him stable. So
Yeah.
I think he had that in his bag as a Hail Mary, in case things went sideways, and it did. So that's the signs of a well prepared lawyer, although he didn't execute it properly according to the law. But I think he had it just in case. And the one thing that was a little bit confusing was it was almost they were interspersing the character testimony and the closing arguments, because I was kind of like, why are they doing the closing arguments and then they're doing testimony? It was a little bit of a whiplash for me until I realized, oh, okay, they're kind of having everybody talk at different times of the courtroom procedure, which was a little jarring for me. But yeah, I think he was having that as a Hail Mary.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. But yeah. So, anyways, great episode, great chat.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy. I really enjoyed episode 3. Thought it was fantastic. I am looking forward to episode 4. I think it's gonna be really great. And yeah, I definitely think that episode 3 redeemed episode 2 and 1, as clumsy and as ham-fisted as those were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the one thing that's standing out to me that I miss the most about the Netflix series is these long scene chewing dialogues. Like, I miss that. Like, I'm not getting any of that just yet. Like, I think the longest dialogue scene was between Matt and Hector. Where they were just sort of having that chat. I hope we get a lot more like that. Like I do want to see another part 2 of Frank and Matt. Like, where they're just kind of stuck somewhere together and they're talking.
Yeah.
Like, I just love John Bernthal and I love Charlie Cox, and they're both amazing actors. So I do want to see them chew up some scenery. I do want to see that. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks guys for joining us for this episode of Meanwhile Back on the podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back to review episode 4 the day after, potentially maybe the night of, but keep an eye up on our Twitter and all our other socials for any announcements of that. And thank you so much for joining us. I've been Frank McGuire.
This is Rich Herrera, and I'll be in my Deadpool shirt next week, so you'll definitely want to tune in for that.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. Take care. Peace.